Titans, go! Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in Titans Tower once again, ready to talk some DC Universe Titans with my fellow co-host, my fellow Titan Talker, and one of my longtime friends, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am great, Charles. I appreciate you guys letting me back after the excellent job Nick did in backing us up. I know he talked about he felt like he had been pulled from the minor leagues into majors, but there is nothing minor league about Nick. He is amazing, and I appreciate him joining you and talking about a really great episode, though I do have a little bit of disappointment to share.
Oh, what's that?
So I'm listening to the episode and go, okay, Charles mentioned that I said I'm going to be disappointed unless somehow miraculously Connor jumps in the air, catches Jason, and saves him. But we know that's not going to happen.
Well, I figured you would talk about that when you got back.
Okay, so I specifically went back to the old episode and I said, okay, I did say that, didn't I? And so I have to give credit to the Titan writers. They did more than I expected them to. Really quickly, Connor was amazing. I think I agree with everything you and Nick said. The actor who's playing Connor nailed it.
Joshua Orban, yeah.
He was perfect. Eve was amazing, and we're going to talk about her in this episode.
Right.
I mean, as much as I have been reluctant to them add new characters, I have to say they've kind of showed me, hey, Jesse, you don't know what you're talking about. Trust us. We know what we're doing, because I thought it was a seamless addition. I didn't feel like they had taken us off the track. I think it was a kind of needed backstory to get where we're going. And so I just was really happy and loved hearing you and Nick talk about it.
Well, thank you very much. And I was worried that Nick's going to be so good that you and him are going to just replace me, because you're just like, oh, he's so awesome. So in case anybody's wondering what Jesse's talking about, we're talking here at episode 43. We're going to talk the episode Bruce Wayne, in the latest in the horribly uninteresting episode titles.
So at this point, Charles,
yes,
this has to be their shtick.
Yes. Oh,
I think that this is their. They're like, okay, you know what? America always named their albums with the album titles always started with an H, and even when they did their greatest hits, they called it America History. And when they put out a new album, it was a trilogy, and when one of them left, the first album without him, they named it Silent Letter. So it was the first American album. So and then like Chicago named their albums just 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So
and how boring was that?
Yeah. Well, and then I cannot think of the lady, the mystery writer, but A is for Alibi.
Sue Grafton.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is not unprecedented to have a shtick on so it is kind of now tongue in cheek. We go, oh no, another horrible title.
Yeah.
But I do think this one had a little twist to it, and I think we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we will. So this is Bruce Wayne, the 7th episode of season 2, released on October 18th, 2019. written by Brian Edward Hill, who's written for season one. I forgot to write down the episode that he wrote in, but he wrote for season one. Directed by Kiva Goldsman, who's one of the executive producers of Titans. And by the way, for those out there in podcast land who can't see, yours truly is wearing his spiffy new Titan shirt that he got from DC Universe. So rocking that one, ready to talk some Titans.
Very nice. And the Akiva has a very
Akiva, yeah.
Akiva. He has done some things that people do not love as a director, writer.
As a writer, yeah.
Yeah. But as a, he did Hank and Dawn. He's done a couple of Star Trek Discoveries. He's done some Fringes. So, he's got a few chops as a director. And he's one of the executive producers in Star Trek Picard. So I was glad to see him do this. And I thought he did a great job of directing it.
Yeah, I think my issue with Akiva Goldsman isn't his directing or his executive producing. It's his writing.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched the Lost in Space movie, that pretty much sums up exactly everything wrong with Akiva Goldsman's writing, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Yeah, I thought
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, that's another one. But yeah. We could go down the long list of Akiva Goldsman's failures as a screenwriter, in my opinion. So the cast for this one, obviously is featuring the return of Iain Glen as Bruce Wayne, although it turns out to be not exactly Bruce Wayne. He's playing a little bit of a variation on the character because, hey, Dick's hallucinating. Because apparently he's got some mental illness, as it turns out. We get, of course, Kieran Walters as Jason Todd, Joshua Orpin as Superboy, Genevieve Angelson as the return of Dr. Eve Watson. So Nick and I were talking about whether we'd see her again. I said, yeah, we're going to see her again. Sure enough, here she is. Natalie Gumede as Mercy Graves, Damar Barnes, as Wintergreen. And we get Deathstroke, Isai Morales' Deathstroke, but only in a really quick vocal cameo when he calls Dick Grayson. So no real new guest stars in this one, but obviously a lot of people central to this season 2 storyline. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts about it. What did you think about this one in general before we get started in our topics?
I rewatched it this morning. I ended up having some extra time. And so I knew there were some snarkiness that I wanted to capture. So I ended up rewatching it, getting some favorite quotes.
All right.
I didn't love this episode as much as the others, but I think this was an important stepping stone or building block in the story they're trying to tell. And this is, if this season is all about Dick's journey to be Nightwing, and I think we could make that argument. That's what this season is.
Right.
This is an important step of, the first step of any recovery is admitting you have a problem. And I think this episode was about Dick coming to grips with, monsters live in the dark, and the only way you can cleanse this wound is by cleaning it and letting sunshine in. Is that enough cliches there, you, Charles?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you pretty much hit them all in that one.
Yeah.
This episode structurally seemed to me more of kind of house cleaning with Dick Grayson's personality to kind of continue the shift from season 1, angry Dick and secretive Dick Grayson, into and having him deal with his past in order to set him up for his future.
Yeah.
And we know he's going to become Nightwing. So there's just so much baggage from the past, and obviously it's affecting the Titans, and Dick comes to this realization by the end of the episode, and we'll talk more about it here in a minute, that all of this, all their problems pretty much center around what he did back in the day,
Yes.
and the repercussions of that, and the secrets of keeping that. And it's obviously complicated things. It's affected all his relationships. Now, once he finally opens up to the Titans, we'll find out exactly how they deal with it and react to him. I'm guessing not great at first, but hopefully it'll work itself out. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So, if you're ready to get into our main topics, I have four this week. No theme, but a couple of short ones, so it should even out hopefully. Topic number one, right off the bat, we have to talk about Dick and Bruce, or Dick and, in air quotes, Bruce, end quotes,
Yes.
because turns out Dick's hallucinating, and the Bruce Wayne portrayed in this is not the Bruce Wayne we know. There's a lot of fun little Batman jokes throughout this episode, but it's not him. Apparently Dick's guilt over his what he did is seriously affecting him mentally, to the point where now he's experiencing hallucinations, and maybe our man Grayson needs to go to a therapist of some kind.
Yeah, I did not take it as hallucinations, and I think you're right. I think it is hallucinations, but I thought of it as his his mental conscience and his psyche trying to talk to him. I did not like this Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that. I mean, this is the cliche Bruce Wayne that you see sometimes, the uncaring, just cold-hearted, character. And we've established in the previous appearances of the real Bruce Wayne that is not their relationship. That is not they have gone past that. And Bruce truly loves Dick and he cares about him. Dick loves and cares about him. But in his mind, Bruce Wayne is still the angry critic that he can't satisfy. And Bruce Wayne is going to point every flaw out that he has. And if we wanted to do clever dialogue, we could print the script, and anytime it's Phantom Bruce Wayne,
Yes.
Yep, that's a great line. Yep, that's a great line.
He does get all the great lines. Yes.
I captured 2 or 3 that when we get to that part, but I thought Iain Glen was amazing in this snarky role. I mean, the scene where he's there at the club and he's dancing with the girls.
Right. Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. What did you think? Did you like this version of what they're trying to show, Bruce doing?
Well, I'd argue that this version of Bruce was essentially how it wasn't Bruce per se, it's how Dick views Bruce.
Absolutely.
It's basically Bruce Wayne through Bruce Wayne through the Dick Grayson filter.
Yes.
And
the unkind filter.
Yes. Well,
yes.
Just there's a lot of their baggage from their relationship over the years, and so it essentially skews how Dick views his mentor, and essentially with this Bruce Wayne playing almost like a Jiminy Cricket conscience to Dick and how his reaction, and to give him someone to banter off of. He kind of had to be an exaggeration of Bruce, because this version of Bruce says things so bluntly that it's not consistent with the actual Bruce. So he'd have to almost be, in order to give that insight and to give that that cutting criticism.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Bruce Wayne, the actual Bruce Wayne, could be very critical, but as far as personal insight goes, Bruce isn't that guy.
No, and in fact, this almost felt like and I don't know, maybe I'm sharing too much of myself, but at
Right.
times I'll have dreams where a former boss or someone in my life who and in that dream they are so much worse than they actually were, but they become intensified.
Right.
And I think I agree with you. This is that Dick is not proud of himself right now. He is feeling the guilt of losing Aqualad. Garth has all come back. The idea of Jason almost dying, all the other things is just amplified this guilt. And now then he's got his self-hatred in the form of Ghost Wayne
Right.
on 11. On a scale 1 to 10, he's
Yeah.
at 11.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It is a lot of self-hatred and self-loathing. And so that version of Bruce, that projection, that hallucination is all of that.
Yeah.
Which obviously, it's essentially Dick um, arguing with himself and
Yes.
and hating on himself. And even when there's this line where after Dick walks off from the original Titans and leaves the tower while the others are in the kitchen, um, that hallucination of Bruce Wayne kind of lingers and makes a reference that what Dick is experiencing is a psychic split.
Yes.
So essentially, yeah, he's at war with himself. And again, this is a sign of mental illness that hopefully somebody should address. Um, but obviously, and that's why at the end of the episode, when Bruce fades away, it's essentially at the moment when Dick finally confronts his guilt and starts opening up about it.
And,
So he's essentially his mind is healing itself a little bit. But I have to think there's some residual stuff that needs worked out.
yeah, and Bruce giving the guilt. This is why I sent Jason. Instead of training him, you ostracized him. You made him feel small. And there is that scene on the roof. And I know that's probably one of your topics, so I
Yeah.
won't go there.
Well,
But
well,
but
this is a whole like this topic number one. I want to talk
yeah,
about Dick and Bruce. So
yeah. So when when Dick makes the decision that the only way he can move forward and to save Jason is by starting to share of himself, he looks back at the fake Bruce, and Iain Glen plays it perfect. He has this smile of pride
right.
as he fades away.
Yes, it's just like
And
finally you get it. I
yeah,
can go away now because you worked it out.
yeah, and I thought that was even though that's just in Dick's mind, I think that we are all chasing our parents, our mentors, our friends' approval in a lot of ways, and no one more than Dick Grayson. And so I just thought that was really well done, and that it's kind of okay. I've taken that weight off. Now let's talk.
Yeah, and that's good.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we need to talk about the burlesque club, the, the Scarlet Rose Burlesque Club,
Hmm.
and so this is essentially where Dick is trying to track down Wintergreen,
Yes.
and he gets it to after going to this like diner called the Skyline and meeting this guy with Benny. He essentially coerces the information about out of how to track down Wintergreen from him, and he goes to this burlesque club, meets this woman named Maddie Matisse, which obviously is a fake name,
Right.
and while he's kind of talking with her, we learn that her sister was killed. Um, Maddie blames Wintergreen for that. And she's very reluctant to talk about it until Dick's talking about that. Hey, we have a common enemy here. So if you help me, I can go after them for you. And while
Yeah.
this is going on, we see Bruce on stage with the burlesque dancers. And like he makes this comment about, hey, all of this is for you. Like everything that I'm doing here, is for you to try to get you to work through through that guilt.
Yeah.
And then he's essentially being a wacky Bruce Wayne,
Yes.
and he starts dancing with the burlesque dancers. Now, if you're a fan of the 1960s TV series, you may have recognized the particular dance he was doing, the Batusi. What did you think of that moment where Iain Glen's Bruce Wayne was doing the Batusi a la Adam West?
So I loved this so much.
Yeah.
Now I also thought of there is Travolta kind of does that similar kind of theme
Yeah.
in
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction.
Yeah.
But yes, I thought of this immediately and smiled such a big smile, and I am so glad you brought that up because it was as
So
we people who saw that, right? It was just greatness.
yeah. Yeah, so for all of you younger viewers out there that aren't old as dirt like Jesse and I, you probably were wondering, okay, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
And yeah, he was doing this thing called a Batusi, and which
Yeah.
was Adam West did back in the 60s Batman show. So he's got the two fingers over both eyes, drawing them back like a mask. And then
Yes.
he's doing this whole hand thing where he's like putting on his gloves and shimmying around, and I just died at that. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, it was. You're right.
So
It was perfect.
completely unexpected, but
Yes.
given this particular Bruce Wayne hallucination, it was a hilarious moment, I thought, and it worked,
Good.
and it actually worked, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did too.
Because it didn't draw on long. It was just a fun little like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing the Batusi.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Anything else about Dick and Bruce you want to talk about?
Nope. It was perfect.
Yeah, and Iain Glen, credit to him, he's playing obviously a different version of Bruce Wayne. Now, a lot of fans have kind of criticized his American accent, and I kind of get that a little bit because his dialect doesn't quite,
Yeah.
he sounds a lot like an English actor trying to do an American accent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on how good the actor is at voices.
Mhm.
A lot of people have kind of said that about Benedict Cumberbatch when he does an American accent. So, although I thought it was just fine as Doctor Strange, so go figure.
I just.
It's just up to the person about whether they can
I know, but just
acknowledge
you know what?
it. Yeah.
Go. Get over it. It's okay. I mean, he's doing so much else greatness, and you just
Well, some people it stands out. Some people it stands out, and it draws them out of the story, and I get that. So if it's just certain people view it different ways, and I respect that. So
I don't, Charles.
Okay.
I'm throwing it out there.
Ooh.
I don't. I'm saying they're nitpicky, little shallow people, and I just don't understand it.
Okay,
but
well,
let's move on.
All right. Well, I'm gonna respect our listeners that actually view that differently. So
I don't think any of our listeners are that petty or feel that way.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's move on. Topic number 2. I want to talk about Jason and Rose.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason Todd, obviously going through a lot after his near-death experience of falling 10 stories or more, only to be rescued by Connor Kent, aka Superboy.
Yeah.
And as soon as as we saw in the previous episode, as soon as Connor brings him down to the ground, Jason actually thanked him.
Yes.
And then like the next minute, Connor takes 3 kryptonite bullets to the chest. The upper chest.
Yes.
The upper chest. So it's this horrible trauma right after being rescued and experiencing that horrible trauma of falling. So Jason's obviously being affected by this, and we see him staring out a window repeatedly as the images of him falling are flittering through his eyes.
Yeah, he looks like a slot machine
Right.
with in his
Yeah,
eyes and the
exactly.
windows doing that.
Yeah, you almost wait him to come out like 777, and then
Yeah.
it gets a big
Like
big
a really
like
bad
his
Bugs
mouth
Bunny cartoon.
his mouth
Yeah.
opens up and there's like a bunch of coins come out.
Yeah.
Jackpot.
Now I wonder, and I want your thoughts on this, is has Jason somehow been brainwashed or psychologically manipulated that he is the one that's putting the crosses up, getting the orange soda, doing, dropping off the beer? Do you think he is the one doing that?
I have a theory.
Okay.
As you might imagine.
Yes. Okay.
My theory, because they made such a big deal about Jason's eyes.
Yes.
My theory is that, and we'll see if I'm right about this. This is a stab in the dark, that Jason has been possessed by Jericho.
Ah, okay.
And that
I like that.
and that Jericho isn't dead after all.
Okay.
Or has somehow survived by entering bodies. Because if you know Jericho from the comics, you know that his power is to look at somebody, make eye contact with them, and he can possess their body and leave his, and his body disappears. So
okay.
Now we don't know. We're going to find out probably next week in the episode Jericho. Again, great title, guys. That probably what we're going to find out what happened to Jericho, and what caused all the guilt that Dick is feeling, probably because he finally tells the Titans there's the story. That's my guess. So I'm thinking that we'll get that story and we'll find out exactly what happened to him. And I'm betting that, that Dick thinks obviously that he killed Jericho. We're going to find out, no, he didn't. And Jericho is, I don't know, he could be working with his father, Deathstroke, or could be operating independently. We don't know. But I think he took over Jason Todd. And that's why we kind of saw him reliving that. And that Jericho is the one using Jason's body without his knowledge, which would explain why he doesn't think he did those pranks.
Yeah.
That Jericho is the one who's, moving the pictures and the orange soda bottle and all that, because he's been kind of hiding out in Jason's body.
Okay. Do you have a feeling how long that's been happening?
I don't know. I would have to think, obviously, because we know that Jason was captured by Deathstroke. So that kind of leads me to think that Jericho is still alive and working with Deathstroke.
Okay.
But again, we'll see. And so if Jason was captured, that would have been a good opportunity for Jericho to possess him.
Yeah. I really liked Jason and Rose, the kind of flirtiness.
Yeah, well, I think there was more of a kind of flirtiness. That was some seriously heavy flirtation going on. And Rose was essentially seducing Jason.
Yes.
So what did you make of that whole sequence? Where they're dancing and there's even a kiss. Jason kisses her and Rose makes this comment of, well, hey, that's a thing that happened. Because Jason's apologizing. He's going like, look, don't kill me. Because I know you can. Don't kill me. It was, just I lost control. And she's like, she was very receptive to it. She goes, well, that's a thing that happened. And if you play your cards right, it could happen again.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought she came across very alluring. I'm still worried that perhaps she is trying to do, she is the traitor. She's going to
Right.
betray them. So you tend to be suspicious of anything she does. At least
Yeah.
those scenes together. And it was a little, there's just Jason has a lot of baggage right now. And so you kind of worry about him, what he's going to do. So, but I really like that part of it and want to see that.
Yeah. Now because of, being suspicious that Rose is the traitor.
Yes.
I've kind of noticed that if you notice, like she's making connections with people.
Yes.
Like with the whole scene with Raven, she tells Raven, "Hey, well, I guess we have something in common. We have our, horrible fathers club," and she's
Yes.
trying to connect to Jason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of this is part of Deathstroke's plan.
Yeah.
Using her.
I think you could be very right.
And now the question is, because we expect one traitor. Well, if Jericho's in play, that could be two traitors, essentially, within, and working from within. And that would be a nice little twist. Now, when Jason was on the roof, and he's kind of talking about, he says that he finally admits to Dick that, like, hey, there's some kind of darkness inside me. I've had all these people trying to help me over the years. It hasn't worked. And he's blaming himself. And then at that point, Dick says, no, it wasn't you. It was me.
Yeah.
It's, and he kind of takes the blame for that. But Jason really blames himself. And it was a very surprisingly honest moment because he steps out on this ledge. He's ready to kill himself.
Yes, he was. And one of the scenes I liked is how nonchalantly Dick just sits on the edge. Because he's not afraid of heights.
No.
He's an aerobatic. I mean, that makes sense that Jason's not afraid of heights. They're just on there. They have great balance. So they just like, okay, I'll just sit here and we'll talk.
But Jason actually took a step off. He was ready.
Yes, he did.
He was ready to kill himself. And Dick talked him back a little bit.
Yeah.
And we don't really get a resolution to that. But Dick's sitting there on the ledge, like you said, just very casually going, talking to Jason and then finally deciding to open up to him.
Yeah, and you have to imagine I remember, and boy, this is once again not a timely reference, but when Steve Young took over for Joe Montana, and for a San Francisco 49er quarterback, they talked about till he won that Super Bowl, he had that monkey of Joe's shadow over everything he did.
Right.
And you have to imagine Jason Todd, despite all his bluster and his, arrogance, the shadow of the original Robin has to be weighing on him.
Right.
And so to have Dick say, no, look, this is me, had to be very powerful for Jason to hear. And that's one of the reasons I liked this episode a lot.
Yeah. And it worked out pretty good. Now, one thing we did forget to talk about was the scene after Rose is seducing Jason by going into his bedroom, closing the door and all that. She starts going through his vinyl collection, which actually turns out to be Dick's vinyl collection that Jason borrowed. And she comes across that copy of David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And it has Jericho's handwriting on it saying property of Jericho. And Rose freaks out at this and says, like, what are you doing with my brother's album? And
I liked it.
Did you think that was real, or was Rose acting there? That freak out?
it sure seemed real. Now, I realize that it's hard
Right.
if she is going to be the traitor. Of course, she's able to act well,
Right.
but it appeared really shocking.
Right.
And that does not mean she can't be both. She can't actually be shocked as well as going to be the traitor. But yes, it seemed really good.
Yeah, and
I liked it a lot.
and maybe there was something that Deathstroke never told her
Right.
that surprised her, and obviously Dick hasn't talked about it with her, so she's she's very angry with Dick Grayson at the moment, going like, look, obviously my brother was here, his album is here,
Yeah. What's going on?
so what's going on, and what's the story, and just gives us a little bit more information that, hey, Jericho was at least at the tower at some point.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
and obviously we'll probably get the full story next week.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting, and yeah, I'm
No.
not sure. I'm not sure. It seemed kind of genuine. So either Rose isn't getting the full story, or maybe she's not the traitor. I don't know, but she certainly seems like it.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll find out. But it
Mhm.
did kind of cast a little doubt on the theory that I wanted to address.
Okay.
All right. Topic number 3. Let's talk about Corey, Connor, and Rachel. Because
Okay.
Connor is obviously recovering, and he's in the med bay after taking those 3 kryptonite bullets. And Corey is taking care of him and telling him, look, that hey, look, like, I don't want you to die. If you do, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Yes.
And Rachel, ultimately, they come up with this idea after Eve shows up and tells him, and we'll talk about Eve here in a minute in a separate topic. Eve tells Corey that essentially Connor's the problem why he's not recovering is that apparently those kryptonite bullets were also tinged with some kind of toxin. And the only so Corey comes up with a plan. And what did you think of her plan?
So I read it a different way, and I don't think we know, but I assumed the toxin she's talking about is the kryptonite.
Yeah.
That when they pulled the bullet out,
right?
They're like, okay, I pulled the bullet out, but all the races, the remnants of the kryptonite,
the fragments,
fragments, the radiation is still in there. That's what I took it to mean. It could have been another toxin. I think it's tomato, right?
Yeah, they could have. I mean, they could have laced it with something, but who knows? That the kryptonite was the way to get it through his skin, and then once it was inside him, then they could like poison him.
And the reason why I was thinking is because the solution is him getting the mother of all sunbaths. So
that's one hell of a tanning bed, isn't it?
Yes, I loved Eve talking to Gar. This is gonna sound crazy, but a dog led me here.
Yeah, we'll talk about Eve and Krypto. I want to talk about that in our fourth segment. But
yeah.
So Corey comes up with this plan.
Yeah.
And brings in Rachel. Now Rachel, as we know, has been having problems with her powers. And Corey tries to guide her to control that. And it seems like really for the first time she's able to control this soul self force, for lack of a better term. And she essentially creates a wall around, a circular wall around Connor as Corey's holding him up. And the idea that Corey, because the protective wall of the soul self will contain Corey's heat powers so that she doesn't burn down the tower.
Right.
And so what did you think? What did you think of how that was resolved?
I liked the give and take.
Right.
I'm
thinking, I'm thinking, what about the floor? Because there was a scorch mark on the floor. That must be a
Yeah.
really tough floor to
Yeah.
handle that.
Rachel did not look very confident.
Right.
So, and then, Corey kind of looked at her and like, what, no, come on, we're going to do this.
Right.
Um, I, I loved everything about it. And I actually wrote the dialogue back and forth,
Yeah.
between her and Eve. And so I'll share that when we get to quotes. But, I thought this was kind of neat to see them use their powers together,
Right.
and watching the Eve kind of go, holy moly, except she cusses, like to
Yeah.
see this, like, oh my goodness, this is
well, I mean, yeah, because she
yeah.
hasn't seen, she never saw Rachel use her powers or Corey use hers.
Right.
So this is a big shock to her that, hey, these two are metahumans, because she figures, well, they're
Yeah.
just regular people.
Mm-hmm.
And and obviously once the sun, Corey's solar energy burns that poison out of him. Rachel drops her soul self or whatever, retracts it, and Connor's there naked.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel's kind of surprised to see Connor naked, which I thought was kind of funny. Thought that was
yes,
funny.
it was very funny to see.
Yeah.
You wonder, I guess, Corey's like invisible aura protects her clothes.
Yeah, exactly. How did that work? Is like Connor's clothes get burned off, but hers stay on. How does that work?
Yeah, so I guess it's this kind of like the Barry, aura that protects him when he runs
Speed Force
super
aura.
fast.
Yeah.
So this is the Starfire.
The Starfire aura.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I loved it. It was great.
All right.
So
let's talk about Eve and Krypto, because we need to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I want to keep this in a separate segment was because there was this great sequence where Eve rescues Krypto.
Yes.
And like she's at Cadmus Labs. Mercy Graves essentially tells her she's fired and forces her to hand over her badge. And Eve, showing how clever she is, she does a move where she bumps into some coworkers and steals one of their passes so that she can get back in to get Krypto later on.
Mm-hmm.
And she frees him from the cage, and poor Krypto is wearing that kryptonite collar, suffering miserably. Like, she opens the door, the alarm starts sounding, and he's crawling out. And poor little guy, and she instructs him to use his heat vision to get that kryptonite collar off. So what did you think of that Krypto rescue op?
Everything was perfect. They made the joke about maybe we'll teach him a new trick. Maybe we can teach him how to play dead.
Yeah.
And
that was Mercy's cold-blooded line.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And to have Eve rescue him, use the clever enough to get the collar off, and then come on, boy, and Krypto flies off.
And she holds on to him. She holds on to him.
Yeah, and slashes through the window.
Yeah. Hopefully Eve didn't get cut to ribbons by that window.
Yes, I was worried about that. I am a fan. I've always been a fan of Krypto in the comics.
Right.
I feel like I grew up with the Superboy comics, The Adventures of Superman, when he was a boy, when it was like in the 40s and 50s, Smallville.
Right.
And Krypto was such a great character. And so
so what did you think, like, finally, as a Superman fan, as a fellow Superman fan?
Yeah.
How hard did you geek seeing Krypto fly?
Oh, just so happy. I was already cool when he does his heat vision.
Yeah.
And then to see him fly. And then
you will believe a dog can fly.
I love it. And I know it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But whoever the dog they have playing that part.
Yeah. It's a great dog, isn't it?
It is. It is the handler or whatever, because he looks really empathetic when he's listening and
cocking his ears.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And then when after Connor was healed, and he calls Eve mom, and she tells him it's okay, and you got to rest, and then Krypto jumps on top of the bed and licks his face.
Yeah.
I mean, this dog is perfect.
I want a Krypto so bad.
Oh, I do
It's
too.
It's like, where's my Krypto? I want to.
Yes.
I want a Krypto. But yeah, I love the dog they've got playing him, or at least the handler is doing a great job training him as an actor, as a dog actor. We talked about that with Nick last time. But yeah, it's so great, and it's great to see that a boy and his dog, or a super boy and his dog relationship between Connor and Krypto. And Eve finally lets Connor call her mom. What did you think of that moment?
Oh, it was so
heartfelt.
It was touching. So heartfelt, and this
because in the previous episode she was so adamant about not being called that, and now she's like, okay, I'm your mom.
Yeah, and she feels that affection for him. She calls him her boy. She kisses him on the forehead.
Yeah, yep.
There is such an affection. And then, he apologizes for trying to be a hero, and she was like, no, I'm foolish. This is exactly what you should be.
That was really crappy advice I gave you.
Yeah, exactly. I really love this actress. I think she kills it.
Genevieve Angelson. I mean, I want to know what more she's done, because she's an amazing actress.
Yeah, I looked at her IMDb page, and she's not done a lot of stuff that I recognize. But it looks like she's been in a couple of series that I've never watched, and I'm kind of interested in checking out just to see her on it.
This might get her noticed by a lot of other TV shows, I think.
I realize Titan Tower is really crowded. And I think a good example is, Beast Boy Gar is not getting a lot. Like this episode, all he got to do was open the door and look kind of shocked when Corey. But I sure would like for her to stick around, because I like her. I think she would be an interesting addition to the team.
Supporting character, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else about this episode before we move into our favorite quotes?
No, I thought it was, I think you said it well. This is needed house cleaning to get us forward to the next step. It was well done. I felt like it was entertaining, and so it was good stuff.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
And obviously things are really going to hit the fan probably next time when Dick finally opens up about what happened with Jericho.
Absolutely.
All right. Favorite quotes. So what's your favorite quote?
I have a couple from Imaginary Bruce Wayne. Yes.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I can look the kid up. And this is when the Titans tell Dick he needs to call Bruce.
Right.
And so you see the fake Bruce Wayne doing the phone,
with his hand. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I can look the kid up. And then he looks at Dick. I just realized what your special skill is. The thing that makes you the natural leader in this group. You're the only one with my phone number.
Yeah, that's good.
Ooh, that was a Dick hating himself.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then I have one more from Imaginary Bruce Wayne, then you take a couple.
Okay.
More people should drop their problem children off a building. It clarifies the mind and the body.
That was a great quote. Yeah, those are two of mine, because I thought those were great lines.
Okay.
So let's see. I liked another Bruce line that I liked was when he was imitating Alfred.
Oh, I almost wrote that one down.
Yeah,
yes.
And he goes, basically tells Dick, "How desperate are you to cauterize your little secret, huh? Hide your little boo-boo. It's too bad Alfred isn't here to fix it." And then he starts doing an imitation of Alfred. "Oh, somebody has a nasty splinter. I'm sorry, Master Grayson, but that's going to have to come out. Let me get the tweezers."
Yes. With that fake British
Yes.
accent.
Yeah.
A British
It's a British guy
doing an
doing an
American
American.
doing a British accent. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very perfect.
Yeah, that was great. Oh,
Um.
and there was another great one that he did
Yes.
when Dick is essentially losing his cool with Wintergreen, when he
Hmm.
confronts him and he basically is like walks into Wintergreen's room and he like comes across like a topless girl and he tells her to leave. Then he comes across another topless girl, tells her to leave, and then goes into the bathroom and finds him in the Wintergreen in the tub, and he fires a couple warning shots and tries to threaten him, intimidate him. And Bruce goes, "And I'm the one with the anger issues,"
Yeah, that
which I,
was great.
which was a great little Batman joke, I thought.
Hmm.
Any others that you have?
Yeah, I've got a couple more.
Okay.
I love the Eve and Corey. Eve's like, I didn't get here in time. In order to save him, we would need a level of radiation not found here on Earth. We would need to fly him to the sun, and we don't have time for that. By now, in order to heal him, we would need to bring the sun here. And just Corey smiles and, well, why didn't you say so? I
Right.
just love that.
Yeah, that was a very fun little smile that Anna Diop
Yeah.
gave,
Yes.
where she's just like grinning as she realizes that, hey, I can fix this.
Yeah, now that you do it.
Yeah.
The last one I have, and you may have it too, is Dick's last line before we cut to black.
Okay.
Do you have that one?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Jason, wait. Can I tell you something? Something I've never told anyone? And at that point, Bruce Wayne smiles and fades away. It's not you. You're not the problem. It's me. It's my fault. It's the secret making all of us sick. My secret. I caused all of this. I did something 5 years ago, something unforgivable. I killed Deathstroke's son.
Dun dun dun.
Fade to black.
Yeah.
Great way to end the episode. We all knew that,
Yes.
but to have him say it out loud,
Right.
and I'm still,
I don't think he's dead.
yeah, and I don't like if did he kill him by accident? Did he do it deliberately? There's a lot of things left to see, and I think your point of him not being dead is a very realistic theory.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
just that Dick thinks he's dead, thinks he
Right.
killed him.
Yes,
But I think we'll be pleasantly surprised, or at least Dick will, that he didn't kill him.
all right. Your
And then,
rating?
well,
Oh,
I
you have another quote?
I have one more
Good.
quote. It was just between Mercy and Eve,
Mm-hmm.
where Mercy's telling her that about Eve leaving the company, leaving LexCorp and Cadmus, and Mercy goes, "Have you considered that this might all be for the best?" And Eve kind of shoots back, "No, Mercy, I haven't." And then Mercy replies, "Think about it. A thing made from even a little of Lex Luthor's DNA? That's super. Have you met our boss? There's no good end to that story."
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was good. All right. So what's your rating? Why don't you go first? Give me your rating.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, please do.
I give this 8 out of 10 snarky imaginary Bruce Waynes.
Nice. Well, we are so in sync on this one. And I'll tell you why. Because I also give it 8 out of 10. But I gave it 8 out of 10 Batusi dancing Bruce Waynes.
Oh, I love that. That is great.
Yeah, so I couldn't resist that because I just love that Batusi moment. It was so fun.
Yeah.
All right. One of the best moments on the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Titans Tower news. I don't have a lot, although there's been some rumors about the Titans appearing in Crisis on Infinite Earths because they're both Berlanti Productions.
Mm-hmm.
There's an initial report that came out, the Titans aren't going to be in it. Now there's another rumor going around that, hey, they might show up. I'm not going to hold my breath that they're going to show up. I'm not. Because they're on completely different systems, DC Universe and the CW. I would love it if they do, even if it's just a cameo. But I'm not gonna expect it.
One of the things that I'm sure you love, because I know I do, is when you have Perez or Byrne or whoever else you want to name do a double page spread of a crowd shot.
Right.
And they will throw in.
Well, crowd shots, you got to go with George Perez.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So how great would it be if they had these actors come in, just be in costume?
Yeah.
You know, we're going to tell you scale. Just stand in this crowd to give people a, just a thrill.
Yeah.
And we may have to.
Well, if you kind of remember Crisis on Infinite Earths 12.
Yeah.
There's this kind of, there's this big cover where like all the superheroes are attacking the Anti-Monitor.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool if they were part of the kind of like like the great moment in Avengers Endgame where you have all the heroes there,
mm-hmm.
And there's just the swarm of superheroes.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be in that moment where you like look one way, you see this, oh my God, that cameo, this way another cameo, and then here's the Titans. How great would that be?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So that's all I have. Tell it to Titan Talk News. We do have some feedback.
Oh, good.
2 emails this week. So once again, we get Stephen Marshall, who's been writing in pretty regularly. So thank you.
Yay.
So thank you, Stephen, for writing in once again. He goes, "Hey guys, another good episode in the bag for Titans. Bruce Wayne was a nice change of pace in that it didn't just follow one story arc, but gave us multiple. I knew right away that Bruce wasn't really there. Especially when Dawn walks out of the room and Bruce fades away. He seemed too out of character, as we talked about. It felt to me like when you didn't want to tell your parents something and you have this idea about how they'll respond. That's a good way to put it. That's how Dick saw Bruce. I have to admit, Bruce dancing with strippers, well, they weren't really strippers, they're burlesque dancers. A little bit of a difference, but there was no stripper pole for one thing. Hallucination or not, it was great. Kind of made me laugh that the Titans kept wondering who Connor was. I mean, he had a Superman t-shirt on and a Superman tattoo on his arm. Wouldn't that at least make them think he had something to do with Superman? Right? Or he could have just been a fanboy of Superman.
But isn't there a point where...
he went and got some ink.
Yeah,
Superman
didn't
ink.
Corey say at one point, he's halfway made of a guy who can, move buildings. There's got to be something we can do.
Yeah, well, she's talking about how she couldn't get the IV in him.
Right. So when she figured it out, you
would think they would be like, hey, maybe we should call Superman about this guy.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Yeah. He continues, speaking of Superboy, I wasn't expecting to see as much about a story arc this week. That was a nice surprise, as I thought that this episode might possibly detour away from that for 1 week. Oh, and he puts this in all caps. Krypto can fly! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Yeah, that was an awesome moment, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It also looks like Jason and Rose are going to hook up. So maybe she is going to be the traitor. Maybe.
Yeah.
As we've been theorizing. Although I hope not. Yeah, it'd be nice if they did a little fake out with that. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry that was a long one. Thanks again, guys. So thank you again, Stephen, for writing in. Glad you're listening. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying Titan Season 2.
Absolutely.
All right. Our second email this week is from Ann Deacon, who normally writes to us on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
But this time she wrote us a big, long email. And she does say, though, she doesn't normally email because long form isn't her thing, because she says she gets long-winded when she likes something. So she goes, feel free to edit. And then she adds, love your podcast and look forward to it every week. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you very much. That is so nice to hear.
We look forward to you listening to our podcast every week.
We absolutely do.
So, all right. So Ann goes on. I'll just hit the highlights here. Hi, Charles and Jesse. I normally just tweet you, but I didn't want to clog up your timeline. Well, that's very considerate. Long form writing isn't my thing, but I'm going to give it a go. I thought the Bruce Wayne episode of Titans was riveting from the first frame. While Jason Todd can be a lot sometimes, Kieran Walters played his trauma here beautifully. The Jason scenes that bookended the episode were subtle and riveting. Same for the first scene between Bruce and Dick. though he doesn't say a word, Brenton Thwaites,
Hmm.
conveyed so much with his face. Yeah, I thought he did a good job in this one.
Absolutely.
He seemed like a child getting reprimanded by a parent. To learn that Bruce was in his head made it even more heartbreaking. He was thinking all this about himself. Everything before the credits rolled was fantastic. As an aside, I love catching the scenes in each letter of Titans and how it changes from week to week. Yeah, we've never really talked about that, but
Hmm.
it kind of relates to the episode. So
Yeah.
it reminds me of the credits of the first season of Young Justice. They gave flashes to the episode we were about to see. She goes, I know Iain Glen has been controversial casting, but I thought he was great in this episode. Granted, he wasn't exactly playing the real Bruce Wayne. Imitating Alfred's English accent and not Iain Glen's own accent was great. And his American accent is okay. When he started doing the Batusi, though, he reminded me a lot of Adam West, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The man wasn't afraid to camp it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's such a contrast from seeing him as Sir Jorah Mormont on Game of Thrones, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because you can't picture Sir Jorah doing the Batusi for one thing.
No, I cannot.
That was hilarious. Thought every actor was great. I loved Benny and Rose. Chelsea and Curran had great chemistry. Love that Corey could speak Kryptonian. Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it's a dead language.
Yeah, dead language.
But I guess she
because
had
hey,
to.
the planet's gone, so yeah, it's a dead
Yeah.
language.
I guess she had. It's like learning. I guess like some people
Latin.
learn Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah. In class, she must have had to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, she says. Speaking of Raven, her deadpan hi to naked Connor was pitch perfect. Yeah, that was funny. Eve continues to express her voice was giving me Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor vibes, as she was very maternal toward Connor, which was a welcome change from the scientist falls for her subject trope. I mean, it may still happen, but I hope not. Well, for one thing, Eve is presumably at least in her late 20s, early 30s, and Connor has the mental maturity of a child. So I really hope that doesn't, especially thankfully, with her saying, call me mom, I'm hoping that means that, okay, we don't have to worry about that Eve is going to fall for Connor romantically.
Yeah. No, I think I agree
Because
with
now
that.
it'd be kind of ew at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she does refer to him as her son. So now it'd be really creepy if she did, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that was really the right move to take.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she also adds that she hopes that the Titans, hopes she stays on the show. The Titans could use a scientist in their ranks, kind of like you were talking about.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Let's see. Everybody turning on Jason, blaming him for the pranks was suddenly seemed out of the blue. Do they really think Jason is such a psychopath that he would do that immediately after falling 15 stories? I'm going to chalk it up to Deathstroke's manipulation. In my head, it's why there were so many more F-bombs than usual. I think everybody except Krypto dropped the F-word at least once. Okay, I know Connor didn't, but still. He's in like a coma. But
I did not feel there were more F-bombs than normal.
Yeah.
This has been a they do some overcussing in this show. You've talked about that at times.
Yeah.
Where at times you think it may be a little too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I have no problem with it because I drop F-bombs constantly, but I just think that if you use it more sparingly, it has more impact.
Yes, absolutely.
So, let's see. There's that moment where Jason tells the Titans that were accusing him of stuff, as he goes, like, well, I should just hook up with Deathstroke because you guys are insane.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was a little foreshadowing on the result of the writers. We'll find out. I'm disappointed that we didn't get Deathstroke manipulating Gar. At first, I thought Slade was only provoking the original Titans, but then Rachel got the crosses. Ryan Potter has been severely underused this season so far, but I hope the behind-the-scenes pics of him with Joshua Orpin means we'll get to see more Beast Boy soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been kind of underwritten this season.
Yeah, and I think it's just there's a lot of people they have to serve. So yes.
Yeah. She says, Lastly, the big reveal, the secret that has been haunting Dick this whole episode, has me slightly baffled. Until now, I was under the impression that all the Titans were responsible for what happened to Jericho, but this makes it seem like he did this without them knowing. I don't think Dick actually killed him, neither do I, but I really can't wait to get these questions answered. Well, we just have to wait about 5 days because we're on Sunday here recording this, so just 5 more days to find out.
Yep.
She gives her best, and then says, as a PS, in case you were wondering, the Scaper in her Scaper Anya Twitter handle is a nod to Farscape. No, really?
Hey, nice.
Really, of course. Yeah. Sci-fi on Crack show that aired from 1999 to 2003. Worth checking out, smiley face. Well, Jesse and I are both big Farscape fans, so yeah, we definitely recommend that as well. Because Jesse used to be on a Farscape podcast.
I was just going to add, yes, I did the Scapecast did a rewatch where they had a newbie, which in many cases was me, and 2 people who had seen all of Farscape, and we watched it 1 episode at a time and discussed it. And if you do a search for Scapecast in podcast, you will see where, and you can hear us talk about it, where we had a good time.
Yeah, you did that with a friend of the show, Karen Lindsay.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so.
Yes, we did.
All right. So thank you, Ann, and thank you, Stephen, for writing in. We really appreciate it. So if you want to be like Stephen and Ann, please do. Write to us at titantalkcast@gmail.com. That's titantalkcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can reach us on Twitter, like Ann has before, at Titan Talk Cast on Twitter, or on Facebook at Titan Talk, the Titans Podcast. Now, Jesse, I know it's been a couple weeks since you've been on the podcast, so why don't you remind everybody where they can find you on the internet?
I will. And, I never mentioned this, and I got called out.
Yeah.
I'm on a small podcast called How Many, and it is basically an excuse for me and 3 of my friends to get together, and we record once a month and record 3 or 4 episodes at a time. And we usually take a pop culture figure and debate on how many significant songs they have, or how many good movies they have, or such. And so that is called How Many. So that is not a podcast I talk about a lot, but if you're into a lot of humor and some bad karaoke, because we always sing the songs along, check out that. More mainstream is Charles and I meet. We talk once a month on our Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. And the other weeks, Charles has had a string of excellent guest hosts joining him to talk all about classic and modern Who. And so you should definitely check out that. We will be talking soon about a Big Finish audio. So I'm excited about doing that.
1 mile down, for anybody wondering.
Yes. If you have now just catching up on, let's say you've got your DC Universe and you're going, hey, I wonder if this Krypton show was any good. 1, yes, it was. And 2, season 2, there was the Phantom Zone podcast where Charles and I talked about the season 2 of Krypton. And I don't know, but I have a burning suspicion that we may bring back the Phantom Zone for the to discuss the Crisis episodes, if nothing else.
I've got a plan for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we definitely should, at least for Crisis. Yeah. Now, Watchmen starts tonight too. Just throwing that out there.
Yes, I know. I am. Are
you looking forward to Watchmen?
I am looking forward to it so much.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's really great. And then finally, Set Lusting Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world about the Springsteen fandom. And an episode just went out today. I went last night to see his new film, Western Stars, which is a little bit concert film, a little bit behind the scenes biography. And it was really well done with a surprise Don't tell anyone, but he does a cover of Rhinestone Cowboy at the very end of the
The
film,
Glenn
which
Campbell
is really good.
classic.
Yes,
Yep.
very good. So,
Like a rhinestone
yes.
cowboy.
And Charles, how about you? Where can we hear your fine work? And don't correct it. It is fine work.
Oh, you beat me to it. All right. So everybody, if obviously, like Jesse said, we do Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where we talk Doctor Who, the Phantom Zone podcast, where we've talked Krypton and the boys, and obviously we're going to probably talk about Crisis on Infinite Earths. I need to line up a panel for that one, I think, and it'd be a lot of fun. And also Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks. And of course, my blog Geeky Things. Almost forgot.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Titan Talk, including Titans news, DC Universe news, Doom Patrol news, and all kinds of comic book sci-fi news. I've been doing a lot of casting news about the Batman that's been coming up. I posted my review of Joker, which I thought was amazing, and really liked that one. And lots of great comic book sci-fi news. So please, if you're so inclined, please check out my blog, Geeky Things, Damn Good Coffee and Hot.
Good.
All right, Jesse, anything else before we head out?
No. How many episodes do we have left of the Titans?
Well, let's see. This was episode 7, so we only have 6 more. So we're at the halfway mark.
Good.
We're just over the halfway mark because it's 13 episodes, and so we're on we're going to be heading into the back 6.
Good. We just need to find a way to make a living doing this, because yes, I want to talk about Watchmen.
Yep.
Yes, I want to talk about Crisis. Yes, I want to do Doctor Who. Yes, I want to keep covering the Titans. It just a lot of things to talk about.
So sponsors, if you're out there,
exactly,
we're willing to be hoard out. Essentially,
yes,
we'll take the money.
Absolutely,
we're not above that. We're not.
Yeah,
we're not snooty that way. We'll take it. Because I would love to be able to do this for a living as well. Obviously. Or all right. So everybody, come on back. Big episode next week. Jericho. Obviously, it's going to be Dick Grayson probably sitting everyone down in the living room, and all the secrets are going to come out. So bring your popcorn, because it's popcorn time for Jericho next week right here on Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.